Joe Biden's debacle in Afghanistan was appalling. But taken on its own, it shouldn't necessarily be of colossal significance. Really, the Bay of Pigs in 1961, where the US was shown up by the minnow of Cuba, was just as big a humiliation. And America survived that just fine. But circumstances are quite different now, and a lot has changed since the 60s. As we can see from America's latest military recruitment advert.
It begins in California, with a little girl raised by two moms. Although I had a fairly typical childhood, took ballet, played violin, I also marched for equality. I like to think I've been defending freedom from an early age. When I was 6 years old, one of my moms had an accident that left her paralyzed. Doctors said she might never walk again. But she tapped into my family's pride to get back on her feet, eventually standing at the altar to marry my other mom. With such powerful role models, I finished high school at the top of my class, and then attended UC Davis, where I joined a sorority full of other strong women. But as graduation approached, I began feeling like I'd been handed so much in life, a sorority girl stereotype. Sure, I'd spent my life around inspiring women, but what had I really achieved on my own? One of my sorority sisters was studying abroad in Italy. Another was climbing Mount Everest. I needed my own adventures, my own challenge. And after meeting with an army recruiter, I found it. A way to prove my inner strength and maybe shatter some stereotypes along the way.
Right. America's foes must be shaking in their boots. Now, for the purposes of contrast, we can compare that embarrassment to the current Russian campaign.
Вопросы могут остаться без ответов, но разве ты сможешь потом спокойно спать? Узнать себя, познать границы своих возможностей. К черту границы. Ты готов ломать себя до изнеможения. Каждый день. Здесь боль закаляет. Шрамы, повседневность. Это ты решил себе что-то доказать. Командир здесь только для того, чтобы ты мог увидеть в нем врага. Потому что без врага нет боя, а без боя нет победы. Но на самом деле, главный враг — это ты. Вчерашний ты. Твоя задача — выследить врага, догнать его, превзойти, стать лучше, чем он, и вернуться назад победителем. Потому что завтра первый день твоей новой жизни.
That's rather more like it. But it's even more pertinent to put the US ad alongside that of China.
请习惯达到。
王局，到！专利动员大会现在开始。
一声到，是一句承诺。
军长同志，一方前准备完毕，请指示。什么？战！
一声到，是一种割舍。一声到，是一次重塑。
海上、空中、陆上各作战机组已修订完善作战计划。
一声到，是一场冲锋。我们用生命扛起使命，我们用忠诚筑起长城，改革强军，征途如虹。
Now, the reason that's so significant is that the real consequences of the Afghan calamity will be felt in Taiwan. China has had her eyes on Taiwan for quite some time, and Xi Jinping has been eagerly awaiting some sign of American weakness. Well, now he's got it. Does he think Joe Biden will go to war over Taiwan? Does he fear him even if it comes to that? I seriously doubt it. But if the US doesn't go to war, should China move on Taiwan, then it's done. It is over. And if it does go to war, it could be a lot worse. The world has forgotten what it's like when superpowers go to war, because it hasn't happened since 1945. And a war there would pit an emboldened China against an alien and insecure America. Simply put, China can control the narrative at home. It can basically guarantee full domestic support for the war effort. And that's always been the crucial element. But the bulk of vocal American opinion now openly despises the US and any hint of action that could be deemed imperialistic. The US can't guarantee any support for a war with China, but it can count on loud and vocal opposition from all quarters. It will also need to rely on a generation who are largely, and let's be blunt here, fucking pussies. Basically, America has no appetite for a war like this now. The US has no chance in a war with China right now, and I doubt that Biden's got the bottle for it. In a nutshell, civilizations thrive when they're self-confident, but when they turn to self-loathing, they collapse. So it looks like a most precarious situation. Of course, opposition is rallying against China too. The UK has joined with Australia and the US in a new alliance designed to check China's power in the Pacific. Though New Zealand, under the awful Jacinda Ardern, has sided with Beijing. Because of course she has. The West can't count on any help from Canada either. Not while this vain, ridiculous drip is in charge. But there's still the possibility that a unified front may stay China's hand. I fear that it won't though, and that a move on Taiwan will be the moment that China replaces the US as the world's preeminent superpower. And if America falls, the West falls with it. And all those who bemoaned the US for decades might suddenly begin to appreciate its remarkable restraint. It's very difficult to predict the future, but it's certainly a perilous situation. And Joe Biden has a lot to answer for. Because I sure don't think Xi Jinping would have detected the weakness to make his move if this guy was still at the helm. It's an irony. But all those who voted for Biden and cheered Trump's fall may be responsible for the eventual collapse of the West. If you've enjoyed this film, please like and subscribe. And if you're interested in these topics, I've written 2 books which go into them in extensive detail. They're called The Tyranny of the Left, and they're available on the links below. Please feel free to pick them up and let me know what you think. Thank you.